So, how in the world does a total global financial meltdown lead to the creation of a brand new type of digital money? Well, this isn't just a story about numbers. It's really a story about a huge betrayal and the quiet, coded rebellion it kicked off.
All right, our story really kicks off with this number. In September 2008, a bank that had been around for 158 years, Lehman Brothers, just poof, vanished overnight. And along with it, $600 billion. Just gone. And look, that wasn't just some abstract bank money. We're talking about people's retirement accounts, their life savings, millions of jobs, all wiped out in the blink of an eye. But here's the thing. A catastrophe that big doesn't just happen. It all started with a simple, really seductive idea that was sold to millions of Americans. It was basically the American dream, but it was weaponized. And it set the stage for a total disaster.
Okay, so let's follow the breadcrumbs. Let's trace this whole thing back to that very first domino. See, the entire chain reaction got started when the Federal Reserve, the Fed, decided to make borrowing money, well, incredibly, almost unbelievably cheap.
So with interest rates slammed down to basically zero, cash just flooded the entire system. Money was practically free, and this encouraged lenders to get, well, let's call it creative. But really, it was just reckless. They started pushing mortgages on pretty much anyone who would take one. Didn't matter if they were qualified or not.
Yeah, it got so reckless they actually invented something called the ninja loan. And no, that's not a joke. It literally stands for no income, no job, and no assets. I mean, think about that. You needed nothing to get a huge loan for a house. It was a ticking time bomb for sure, and the banks were the ones happily lighting the fuse.
But, just handing out all these bad loans, that wasn't even the whole scheme. Wall Street took all this toxic debt and, through some kind of dark financial alchemy, they managed to transform it into something that looked safe on the surface but was actually way, way more dangerous underneath.
So here it is, the recipe for absolute disaster. Step 1, you take thousands of those awful ninja loans. Step 2, you bundle them all up into this complicated financial product called a mortgage-backed security, or MBS. And then, step 3, and this is the crazy part, you pay a ratings agency to straight up lie and stamp this package of financial garbage with a AAA rating. That's supposed to be the safest rating on the planet.
So this wasn't some small, contained problem anymore. We're talking about the entire global financial system, now built on a foundation of these completely fraudulent AAA-rated securities. The whole thing was just teetering on a knife's edge.
And honestly, this is the best way to think about it. The whole system was a giant Jenga tower. Every single bad loan, every fake rating, that was another shaky block being put into the tower. And the whole thing was built using leverage, which is just a fancy word for borrowed money. So they were making bigger and bigger bets, making the tower taller and shakier with every single move. You see, this entire con only worked as long as one thing was true. Housing prices had to go up forever. But nothing goes up forever, right? So the big question was, what happens when all those people with ninja loans can't pay their mortgages and the value of their houses finally starts to fall? Well, somebody pulled the wrong block. The ninja loans started to default. All those supposedly safe investments they were bundled into, they became worthless, literally overnight, and the entire Jenga tower just came crashing down. And it was violent. The fallout was immediate, and it was absolutely catastrophic. You had banking giants like Lehman Brothers just gone. The credit markets, the entire plumbing of the global economy, they froze solid. And for millions and millions of regular people, their 401ks, their dreams for retirement, they were toast.
Okay, so now we get to the aftermath. And this part is really important, because this is where the anger that fueled a revolution really began. The government stepped in, sure, but who they decided to save? Well, that sparked this incredible sense of betrayal all across the country and really the world.
The government rolled out this $700 billion bailout program called TARP. But get this money, which was taxpayer money, our money, it wasn't for the families losing their homes. Nope. It was for the exact same banks and Wall Street firms that caused the whole mess to begin with. And this right here really tells the story of two different Americas. You had Main Street, where people were losing their jobs, their savings, their homes. Then you had Wall Street, where the banks got bailed out, their executives still got paid huge bonuses, and not one of them, not a single one, went to jail for any of it. That was the message that was sent to the entire world, right? The very people who designed this disaster were protected, while millions of their victims were just left to fend for themselves. The message was loud and clear. The system was rigged, and the people at the top faced zero consequences. And it was out of that anger, that deep feeling of helplessness, that a totally new idea was born. It was a direct response to the crisis. It was an act of protest, but one written in computer code. You could even call it a digital middle finger to the entire broken system.
And the timing here is just, it's everything. At the absolute peak of all this financial chaos, just a few weeks after the bailouts were announced, this mysterious anonymous person or group called Satoshi Nakamoto publishes a document online. It was called a white paper, and it was basically a blueprint for a whole new way of doing things.
And that blueprint? That was Bitcoin. It was a system for money that was designed from the ground up to fix everything that had just gone so horribly wrong. Its rules were a complete rejection of that old world. No banks needed to approve anything, so no one could just freeze your account. No governments could just print more of it whenever they wanted and devalue your savings. And most importantly, no bailouts. The rules were right there, in the code, for everyone to see.
So, you see, Bitcoin was born from the ashes of 2008. It was a direct answer to a system that so many people felt had totally failed them. But the question we're left with today is this: did Satoshi actually create a new, more fair system for the people? Or are we just busy building the next Jenga tower?